Bear with me. And maybe eventually we can not use YouTube. We can find another streaming platform or create our own.
I think we should keep YouTube if we can, yeah, just let the record with the other videos, especially if we can have a category for this so people know that there is less preparation and making the video better. So yeah, that YouTube is a place where we have all the other videos. The only thing is that we try to always keep a backup of the video in terms of censorship or if we want to migrate somewhere else. But I push to keep YouTube since we already have videos on it. Okay. So we have one place for videos.
Okay. So we can, this time we live stream, but then we record and let people listen and post questions in the channel on YouTube after the fact.
Okay. Do you want me to start to maybe present current state on territory core team?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. So hi all, I'm Zuma, leading territory core team. Maybe we got a few members of the core team right now and in the call. We got Gopher, Yo, Norman, and Omni that are members of my team. So basically at Territory, we build a Web3 OS. So we try to create a new experience for users that will be multi-chain. And we released the alpha version in November and the network also. So it's quite an early project right now. And our target is to go ahead and build a community and slowly integrate Gno.land smart contracts and realms that will be presented into the dApp progressively and allow us to demonstrate potential of realms, even promote Gno.land to developers. Maybe I should present by maybe making a quick demo. I don't know if I have the rights to share my screen. Oh no, I'm not allowed to share my screen.
So it's the same security button, just
all done.
Okay.
You should be co-host now.
Okay, great. I don't know if you let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. So basically, the current state is not using Gno.land yet. That's only using Cosmosm and Solidity, but it will basically present you the experience and the target we got in mind. So currently, the dApp is composed of a main place that you will have an overview of your wallet, etc. You'll find some quests because we want to incentivize people to discover features, discover new dApps, etc. And what we already released first was an NFT marketplace and launchpad and the name service. Basically, that's the simplest features we could we had to release fast. It was quite simple. And on the other hand, in background, we prepared the first social feed experience. So to show you quickly, so it's quite unreleased yet. It's not like just a sneak peek for you, but it will be released in the upcoming days. The experience is based on a social feed, so you will have your own profile that will gather all information from your wallet. So basically all NFTs you could have in your wallet, all badges if you had some missions that are considered as successful or even like success, whatever the quest you made. And this will be a kind of central points because in the future you could imagine to improve the social proof of a wallet of people or organizations and gather it in a simple interface that is quite similar to Twitter. And the other place I would say that will be probably a central point for community is the social feed. So here it's on testnet on territory. And so it's fully decentralized using IPFS. The only difference between this social feed and Twitter is we provide also some content, some music directly hosted on IPFS, and also some tips. So you'll be able to tip someone just for a post or content, and yeah, to incentivize people to make great content for community, etc. And here you can see an example of something that maybe Node will the demo effect. I'll try to load again. Sorry for these guys, but okay. So basically, this is a kind of similar to Medium. So it's a longer post than a simple tweet. Oh, it's laggy. Sorry. But on this, we will be also able on this kind of article to use it as a kind of crowdfunding. So if you imagine, for example, in a few months that we have a multisig, a group of friends could create a multisig together and decide to post with this multisig a simple post, a simple blog post, I would say. And this blog post can be used as a simple crowdfunding, receiving some tips. And later, for example, this multisig could be could raise some money launching an NFT collection, or even provide services as an agency and get paid for services. So the idea for us is to create an experience that makes the individual level, which is really as human, I would say, but also interaction with a simple group of friends and also with a company, etc. So yeah, that's our vision is to optimize the organization process and interaction between humans and organization. And maybe a last thing I can show is the dApp store, because basically it's the simplest way to understand our Web3 OS vision. We believe that we want to be ready for Gno.land testnet, mainnet, sorry, and to promote all dApps that will be built on top of Gno.land. And our vision is to grow the community and have first core features developed by our team, but also slowly to integrate some dApps that are made by external teams. And of course, as soon as possible, integrate other dApps built on Gno.land to promote and to also incentivize more developers to join us. So yeah, here you can see a simple, the first dApp that will be released on the dApp store next week is the swap on Osmosis DEX. So here I can decide to add Osmosis in my menu bar and customize my experience and territory. And in the future, we will be able to list all Gno.land dApps there. Yeah, I don't know if it's clear. Do not hesitate to have question, or that's the current state actually. Yeah, feel free to ping me for any question.
I think you're gonna also, you mentioned being adding in like the Adena wallet, yeah?
Yeah, but basically the goal will be to make it easy for users, even non-tech people to experiment in Gno.land. So I think we'll discuss probably in upcoming weeks with Gno.land and his team to integrate Adena. And also we will try to imagine how to promote Game of Thrones inside territory to make it like simple for people to follow the competition and join the competition.
Looks like it was clear. Do we want to? So we have Andrew and I think Dongman here. Maybe since you guys are having a call tomorrow with the recent open issue, we could talk through it a little bit if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. So I'll go first. I'm Dongwon from Onblock. So Milos and our team have been discussing about the official Gno SDK, and I thought it'd be nice to have the discussion publicly to see what others think. So I made an issue in the Gno GitHub, the issue 701. Basically, it's a suggestion to build an official SDK that the app developers can use to interact with the Gno.land blockchain in an official way. So in the issue, I've shared what we experienced as while we are developing Adena, and I've also added suggestions for the functions that we needed. So yeah, if you have any suggestions or improvements, you can share your thoughts in the GitHub, and feel free to ask any questions.
Yeah, this discussion is also primarily for people who either like have their own Go apps or building their own JavaScript apps that want to work with Gno in some way. Right now, you have to do a lot of stuff manually. And this is like the use case for Adena, right? So Adena did a lot of stuff manually, and the whole goal behind this effort is to sort of abstract it away behind a common package that everybody can use, like an SDK, and just like not have these headaches of, or not have this overhead of, writing your own implementation or managing your own implementation just so your app can work with Gno. So if you're a builder or you're somebody who's thought of, this should work out of the box, then please contribute to the issue as well. Yeah, just like add your use case and what you think should be added, or what you think is missing, or what you think should be changed, right?
Thank you. Well, what about the name? Maybe Gno SDK could also refer to server-side SDK for creating a Gno-based blockchain application. And so maybe there's the need to distinguish the two. So like a Gno client SDK, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just
Go ahead.
I just opened an issue with, I added a comment explaining that for me, the SDK you are building right now, Milos, should probably be named Tendermint 2 SDK. Or Tendermint 2 client, I don't know. Then we can expect each chain to just create a flavored version of this with custom variables, endpoints, denominators, maybe custom commands like @pkg, which is not something in Tendermint 2. So we have another client for each chain. And then my suggestion is to also, think about, we will probably have a Gno SDK, a competitor for Cosmos SDK, something to build new app chains, sorry. And maybe another SDK, which is from another level of execution for the contract themselves. So at the end, we'll probably have multiple layers and multiple persona of users. So let's try not using Gno SDK, which is clearly the most ambiguous name for what it brings. But for me, what you are building is probably something that should be linked with Tendermint 2, because it's more about RPC, ABCI, raw messages, transactions. And at the end, either you have flavored versions or minimal package just to customize the common one, the common Tendermint2 core client to interact with a specific chain. But in general, naming something Gno something is ambiguous. It makes sense for Gno.land official things and dedicated things. But if you want to replicate something for all the Gno VM based chain or Tendermint2 chain, I suggest having a longer name, which is more obvious.
If we go with Gno client SDK, then we can always call it that. You know, we can factor out a Tendermint2 client SDK later. So maybe the keyword's the client part because it's in JavaScript or Node.js SDK. Or maybe there's another word besides SDK. Yeah.
I prefer client. Let's maybe open an issue and discuss this more. But yeah, let's suggest having a clear name and try to enumerate everything we will have in the ecosystem to avoid migrating stuff by renaming stuff, etc.
Yeah. I definitely feel like the naming is sort of resolved with the recent reorganization of the structures that we had, the folder structures, right? So yeah, it definitely makes more sense to call it either client or something more similar.
So the action there is to open up a pull request on the nomenclature.
There is an issue opened by Unblock, I guess.
That's the 701. So that's the one already, yeah.
Yeah, let's continue here.
Is there anyone actually that can give an update on Tendermint2 on the call?
I can say something generic. It's not about the features or ABC, but first, Tendermint2, we decided to keep it in the main GNU repo for the moment. So we had a refactor last week where Tendermint2 is now a top-level folder of the GNU repo named TM2. It will be the official location to develop and improve Tendermint2 until it's stable enough and can be extracted from the GNU repo to become a standalone project. It will be independent from GNU governance and needs. So yeah, first, Tendermint2 is still a repository in the Tendermint organization, but it will soon have a disclaimer on the README pointing out to the GNU repo. Another update regarding this is that currently Tendermint2 is depending on GNU VM. So there is an effort to remove the 3 last imports to make Tendermint2 depending on nothing. And we plan to add a naive, very basic Tendermint2 chain, a demo chain, and a demo client. And maybe add some CI rules to always make sure that we will never depend on GNU VM to just allow to continue working on GNU features and be triggered by the CI if ever we try making bad architecture by creating unnecessary dependencies to GNU VM. So yeah, Tendermint2 is now in GNU repo for some time, and we plan to create demo chain, demo CLI, and some tools to make sure that people working exclusively on Tendermint2 can do it in good conditions. Now for the rest about IBC, ICS, probably the other people can give better updates.
Yeah, who on the team would be giving ICS and IBC updates?
I can start doing that next time. Right now, there's no update for IBC or ICS at the moment.
The last discussion was 1 or 2 weeks ago. So yeah, no news during this time.
Okay, there was, because I think that when I was scoping out the repo, I saw a few weeks ago a pretty active discussion on protocol to support contract-to-contract interaction. 473.
Yeah,
Is that the one that believe it's Ray on the team?
yeah.
Is that where people
Actually,
have the conversation?
it comes from another feature which does not depend on IBC, but we were exploring the possibility to mix IBC and contract-to-contract calls so they could use eventually the same API from a smart contract developer point of view. That's just an exploration at the moment, and IBC is more here to help us define appropriate barriers and boundaries, but that's not a priority. If we continue this development, it won't implement IBC. It will just implement contract to contract, but by keeping in mind that maybe what we are doing here could be the same base API for the IBC2, IBCX.
Actually, I was following also a little bit in the channel with Ilker. Is it possible to maybe give a no IDE update? Would that make sense?
Is that question to me?
Yeah, I saw it where I think you guys are meeting with Unblock. There's a call, but since it won't be open, maybe you have a few updates.
Yeah, we have some updates. We just deployed one contract by using the IDE today. We have a PR open for that, and it will be like soon. It will emerge soon, and also we implemented the new design. Yeah, it looks pretty neat. You are able to connect the wallet, open projects, create projects, and change the code, customize your IDE. We have some customization options, and then you can build your contract right now, and you can deploy it to the network. Does it make sense if I share my screen? But we are on Zoom. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, let me just quickly make it, if that's okay for everyone. I can also just make you a co-host.
I think I'm not able to share a screen.
Yeah,
It is
me too.
disabled.
Yeah, I learned my lesson, so I put security features on. I just made you co-host. And I don't know, sorry, I don't know everyone's context here, but I don't know, I guess if everyone here knows what no IDE is. But yeah, you can share your screen now. It looks like your co-host.
Okay, thank you. I have many tabs. Just a second.
I also hoard tabs.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I'm a tab hoarder myself.
I'm glad that maybe we all need intervention.
The tab hoarder anonymous.
Yeah.
Do you see it?
Yeah, we see it.
Okay, so yeah, we have the wallet, Adana wallet, thanks to Unblock team. And I mean, this is like a very simple, lightweight IDE. Like when you refresh the page, you gotta connect your wallet. Of course, like you don't have to do it all the time, but for now you have to do it. And you can click the plus button and open a new project from your own file system. You basically select a directory from your machine. Then it will appear in the file explorer here. For example, book contracts. So I give permission to the browser to access this directory, and then you will see the code here, and you can switch between files. There is this, we call this floating menu. It's an action menu to actually, quickly take some actions, basically, like, switch to light mode, dark mode, and you can choose to like edit your code in the normal mode, Emacs or Vim. Right now I'm on Vim mode. Easier for me, to manipulate code this way. The present button is disabled right now, but when you click to it, it will change the view for the IDE. So things will become more. The text size will increase, and the file explorer will be hidden, and things like that. So we plan to use this mode during workshops, like when we present. When we project to a screen. The text has to be like bigger and everything. So you just click to the present button when you're presenting, and it will happen automatically, all the setup. And there's a test button. This is not functional right now, but it is about like running your tests, unit tests. And in the future, we will also have features like debugging your contracts, like reviewing the state for your contract for the VM. So you will have more options here. And there's a deploy button. You could select the network that you want to deploy to, and you can select multiple packages and realms to deploy at the same time. And when you click deploy, it opens Adena for signing your transaction. Then you click to confirm, and your contract will be deployed. So this is like the very basic version of the IDE. And there's a settings page. You could actually like customize how this action menu should look like. You could like hide stuff. Like if you don't want to see the editor mode options all the time, you could just disable it. You could disable the present button and template options. So there's some room for customization there. And yeah, this is how it looks like. And one of the exciting features is that we will have, this is the normal mode, the normal view of the IDE, and there's a presentation mode, the presentation view, and there will be a embedded view as well. So you can actually embed the IDE into your website. It is similar to like embedding GS Fiddle or CodePen, to your website to run, like if you embed, for example, CodePen, you can like run HTML code, JavaScript code on your website. Like if you are writing a tutorial, for example, you will want to like embed IDE into your website, and then people can just click to the deploy button or like execute button, run button, manipulate the code in the tutorial, switch between steps, like next step, previous step, to actually like try out your tutorial. So yeah, it will really help with the tutorials and blog posts to run sample code right on the blockchain itself in the testnet. So yeah, basically 3 different modes. Yeah, that's kind of it right now.
I think not, because not everyone can see these questions. People that may be interested. I don't know if you see them.
Okay, are there any questions?
Yeah, they're in the chat. Maybe just for people who will eventually listen. Can we have, sorry, an IntelliG plugin in the future? And then, do you see them now over here in the chat?
Okay, I see them. Yeah, I mean, so the idea is to like first make this browser IDE. And of course, like, I mean, for example, one of the biggest features in the IDE will be like testing your contracts, the debugger, and auto completion. Like there will be an auto completion feature. Like when you start typing import, it will actually like list you the packages available in the blockchain, and you can just select and import. Like there will be auto completion for imports and auto completion for your, code in general for your functions. You'll be able to see the docs documentation for your for the packages that you'll be importing, and how many functions it have, what functions it have. So yeah, I mean, all that will be, I mean, they are kind of main features of the IDE. But yeah, I mean, so but they don't need to be specific to the web IDE. Like we can actually build something like, I mean, all this auto completion, what else, like the debugger feature, all that actually can be also shared to other IDEs, existing IDEs, like IntelliJ, and yeah, I mean, we could definitely write plugins to bring those features to them. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, we don't have a mention of no ID much. Sorry, no IDE much in like the Gno.land Discord, or is it also in the? Is there a repository in Gno.land or the Gno.lang, or is it separate?
Yeah, we have a separate organization for that, and we will make the repositories open source. Right now, it is private.
Okay.
And we should probably create a channel on Gno Discord specific to IDE.
The question, Albert, why ROMs don't have address like no one XXX, is that related to IDE or is it just kind of separate?
No, it was separate. Someone asked that on YouTube, on the YouTube chat. So it was just like if someone want to continue and answer him.
Yeah, who can take that one?
What's the question? Inside. Okay, so the answer is because we prefer the. So the question is why realms don't have address like Gno1 XXX. Actually, this is one of the features we would like to continue in terms of transparency. Showing the source code is something, and having human readable addresses also is going in the direction of transparency and auditability. So we make everything we can to actually have human readable URLs. At the end, we have a function to derive actually any string. So we have ways to generate a GNO XXX address for a package. It's a thing used by some internal modules like the banker module. So if a contract should keep some money, if a contract should be compared in the calling stack for security reasons, actually, we won't use the contract URL by default, but we will use GNO XXX address instead. And one of the options to manage contract upgrades, so having V1, V2, V3 of the same contract, could be by using more the GNO XXX address. When I say using more, it's probably by making it more easily available, like a hash. For instance, on GitHub, you have named tags, named versions, but you always have the Git hash, which is something not for the machine, which is something common to share with people, etc. So maybe we'll expose it more. At the moment, you can have a GNU x86 address if you call some helpers, but to make sure that by default we are not like Ethereum and other chains with hash instead of names for things that we prefer people to be able to more easily compare with scams and audit, and also have some metadata around the contract itself. For instance, the author or the organization behind a contract. So for us, it's not just a name, it's a relationship with a human or an organization. It's a relationship with previous versions. And and last part is actually when you import a contract from another one, it's not like other systems with compiled code. We're actually importing other contracts through their readable name. And this is something important in Golang. In Golang, the same import path is readable, is indicating how to use a package, what will be the prefix of something you want to call, and it's used by the Golang toolkit to download the dependencies. And we ported this approach to GNU by having import paths that are the prefix of what you call and the contract you want to import, the contract, the state we want to wake up, so everything. So we clearly need the names, but if you really need, and I would be curious about why you want to have this. If you need, you can have an address for a contract. Just to complete the question of Peter about IntelliJ plugin. So yes, Ilker is working on Ilker with his team. They are working on the IDE, which is more a remix competitor than a VS Code competitor. By doing this, they will provide some useful resources like APIs, caching, and so yeah, stuff to make the life easier of people writing editors plugins. Then we are using proof of contribution, so just add support for your favorite editor. One of my first PR on the project was to update contributing.md and explain how to tell it to Emacs that a GNU file is actually a Go file. Let's make a competition and port the war of editor inside the project. So the better editor community will have the best integration. But by default, the core team won't work on a specific plugin, except for the IDE, which is strategic for the discovery and integration of GNU in READMEs, in websites, in workshops, etc. So feel free to make stuff on IntelliJ and post it on Awesome GNU repo, so anyone can see your official plugin and improve it. And actually, it's like a tutorial. It's a resource that counts points for the second point of Game of Thrones phase 1, but making the project easier to discover and easier to work on. So consider that it will count for points in terms of tutorials and documentation. So it's rewarded to write editors for your favorite plugins as soon as it helps developers coming from your community to develop more quicker and faster and better.
Okay. Maybe we also have, we have Dong-Wan on the call and on block, and we also have, I think, Ian and Sage. Dong-Wan, do you want to give like a few minutes of an update on how things are going at Edena and with the developer portal?
Yeah. So for Adena, we are refactoring some code base to support the IBC transfers and to be able to support GRC20 and GRC721 in Adena. We are mainly doing that for Adena, and for Gno.land portal, we are not actively, updating it. But if there's any suggestions for a change, you can always, open a PR in the portal GitHub. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the Adena and portal.
Sage side, we're continuing to spec out, I think what we're going to need from a smart contract level, as well as we've taken a little bit of a step back to look at kind of what real world requirements outside of just the software we need to get set up to accomplish our goal of kind of being able to structure impact DAOs, as this group will probably understand it. So we're kind of heads down on the specking side for right now.
Curious, what are the real world challenges?
Yeah, I mean, I think figuring out how not to blow up this conversation, right? But we're running into the same problem that probably a lot of blockchain-based projects are running into, of when we're trying to affect something in the real world, especially when it comes to impact, we're gonna have to deal with the problem of converting back into fiat in a lot of places and figuring out how to get resource that maybe was generated, inside a cryptocurrency, a blockchain, and actually turning that into something that can go buy food or, make wells and do things like that. And so I know we all have the idea that eventually those resources can be used directly, but right now I think we're going back to see how we're going to solve that problem in the meantime. So.
I don't know. Does anyone have questions? But I guess speaking of fiat and things like that, I don't know. Albert, you had like the treasury pour. I think it was like something that looked really interesting. If you maybe gave a few minute promo of it, sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. So just basically, I had the idea, and I wanted to work on a Merkle tree airdrop contract in Gno. And I've got several problems and so issue to fix. So I start digging. But basically, when I was starting to use the GRC20, I had an issue because the GRC20 is using a security that is get orange color, which check the original color of the takes, which is an issue because if the Merkle airdrop contract is like a middleman, like you're calling the airdrop contract that will call the GRC20 contract. So I start checking and start like discussing about possible solutions. One of the first ideas was it was std.exec as pkg. So it was just like a sub function, and inside of this function, everything would be executed as and the orange color would be updated. But after several discussions, I don't believe it's a really good it's a good solution for the future. And we just worked on a get color function that's that's meant to be used rather than get orange color, except when it's really when get orange color is really needed. But the idea is that rather than checking the original color, check just who is the last color for everything. Because using the orange color could lead to phishing issues and stuff like that. So I believe it's something we have to fix. So right now there is some PR in the preparation of it that have been merged, and there is and for the get to rich color there is currently discussions about and there is many propositions. So there was the exec SPKG, the get color, and Manfred also bring another proposal about like a PID UID system that could also be interesting. So I think it would be a nice stuff also to discuss, like all of us about that. Maybe it's too technical, no? Or it's fine.
It's perfectly technical. It's just maybe too late for this one because I think we can speak about this for 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So maybe we can keep it for the next meeting and speak about the stack management, the security features and the role of stdlib.
Yeah.
So right now, I suggest postponing the deeper discussion. And no, it's never too technical. We are creating technical stuff for technical people. So let's be technical. Probably, I can suggest people to look at issue 683, which is named RFC Proposal for a New Stack Frames Management, where I try to make a good summary of the current state and some proposals, and then we have multiple interactions and feedback. But consider that what we're doing now is taking small steps that make sense, like making GNU test and the real runtime compatible. So when you call get origin color, get color, you have something similar where a few days ago it was not the case, because when you call get origin color on a unit test, it won't be the origin color at all. So we're taking some initiative to just fix this, but there is a discussion about how to make it more long-term and definitive, and manage both something that will be secure for things that require to be ultra secure, and on the other side, something that will allow more flexibility for the contracts that need more flexibility. So just as a summary, you don't want a GRC20 to be fished. Maybe you want some approval processes and validations. And on the other systems, it could make sense that it becomes natural for people to have intermediary contracts to enhance their GNU life by creating contracts that will just be used to create workflows or simple flows and execute 10 things instead of one, or replacing the need to make 10 transactions by just taking the habit of writing small helpers that will follow some workflows. So look at issue 683, and let's discuss this more deeply during the next call if possible.
Yeah. And maybe if you can make also like a pre-call to talk about all that, but yeah, sure.
Maybe the closed call next week could be the pre-call for it, and then in 2 weeks when we have the more public-facing developer call, there'll be some more bit like conversation. So the 634 that I shared here, it should be more directed toward the 6.
Yeah, we already start discussing on it.
Okay. Okay, so that's the action for next one. There were a few more points that I had made on the agenda, but there was the resolving the machine panics in Node. I think this was a Thomas topic.
Yes, so it's not really about resolving, it's about how we deal with panics in native functions. So just for recall, native function are Go code that is called from contract. So basically they are helpers that give access to the VM context and stuff like that inside GNU code. Currently in native function, when when there is a panic in native function, you are not able to recover it in the GNU code. So my suggestion was to replace them with machine panic, which is almost the same, but at least it can catch it from GNU code.
Yeah. What function panics?
But
Or I guess
For
in general,
example?
any function can panic. But
yeah, there's one. There's one at least. It's assert origin call, which panics if the call is not an origin call. So yeah.
Sorry, what is the call?
Assert origin call. It's a native function that checks the number of frames, and if it's not a direct call from transaction, it triggers a panic.
Oh, huh. Yeah, we should do something. Yeah, that we should be able to catch that panic for sure. So I guess replacing it is good. Maybe yeah. Okay, so the problem with native things, like a native error object, is that we can't persist it. Right? So at the end of a realm transaction, if that native error were to be stashed somewhere in a struct field or whatever, then there will be a problem. The transaction won't complete because we don't know how to persist native objects, and probably never will. For most native objects, or in general, any native object. So we could, you know, I mean, like a very dumb idea or naive idea would be to replace the panic, to wrap the panic with a Gno panic, and maybe just keep the string. But even the string form of a you know, like a Go error could change from version of Go to Go. So maybe that's not stable either. It seems like what we might need to do is maybe well, it seems like that we need a contract where a native function, if a native function is going to be available in Gno.land as a smart contract call, because there's several modes, there's two modes of operation, right? The file tests, for example, they can run in a mode where there's a lot of native support, and but we disable a lot of the native stuff for Gno.land, right? Because of the persistence issue, among many other things. So we limit native calls during smart contract execution. And maybe what we need is a contract that says a native function, even when a native function errors, it always returns, it always panics with some sort of Gno panic that is deterministic. And we just have to maybe manually ensure that all of those are deterministic, which is not great. Not great. For assert origin call, that's definitely a public facing function. So maybe what we need to do is replace that with a Gno function that calls that calls the native, that does the native operation, and then panics with a deterministic function where the error message is something we set in Gno. I'm not really sure here, but yeah, it's definitely something we need to figure out.
Okay. So yeah. So at least for this function, you think it's a good idea to use the Gno panic instead of the Go panic?
Yeah, we'll have to return a Gno panic. In general, for anything that is exposed, this like an STD function, yeah, all of those things, yeah, it should panic with a Gno panic. Yeah. And then there are internal, yeah. So there's native functions, and then there's also internal native functions, right?
I asked, you
Let's
mean
see.
like recover?
Sorry?
Like recover? You mean the one when you said internal native function, it's like the built-in, like recover, like make, or I don't know.
No. What I mean is, if you look at the inside this standard libs directory in some of the standard Go packages that were ported over, I think maybe, I don't know, if you search for internal / bytes, somewhere it imports code and the import path is internal / stuff. Okay, so why am I saying this?
It's in Gno.VM stdlibs now. It has moved to Gno.VM.
Yeah, Gno.VM, stdlibs.
stdlibs.
Yeah, grep in there for internal, and you'll see like internal.
I see some of them, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so I think what we want to do is something like this. So this is not, I don't think this is something that's quite set up yet. But the idea is, okay, those standard lib modules are maybe the only place where like internal packages can be imported. So I think what we want to do is we want to make the internal package something special. So internal packages can only be imported from standard libs. So users can never import internal. And I think in this way, maybe by combining this, we can have an internal function that asserts native origin or does something similar. And it can panic. It can panic with a native panic because the idea is that the only places that call internal stuff are code that we maintain. So then we can catch that internal panic if we can catch it. So maybe that's not yet supported well. Okay, but I think we can catch internal native panics, and then we can wrap that with a Gno panic, if that makes sense. So stepping back a bit, we should be able to catch native panics, recover from native panics, because that is tested. It's just that if there is an error, it's probably that it's trying to persist the native panic at the end of a transaction, or maybe you can help me understand what the problem was with the native panic.
Well, it appears to me when I wanted to test the behavior of the native function, I wasn't able to catch the panic in the Gno test. But
in the Gno test, okay,
yeah.
huh. Okay, interesting. Well, there are recover tests, yeah, but maybe this is not tested well for some reason because I don't know.
I think the recover test works well because the panic occurs in the Gno code, but when the panic occurs in the native function, which is Go code, it's not the same.
Oh, I see what you mean. You're right. Yeah. We should. I guess native functions should never panic, right? Maybe that's one way. We always make sure that native functions never panic, and if they need to panic, they panic with machine Gno panic.
Yeah, I agree. At least we have the choice. In native function, we can code a panic that is catchable in Gno code, so with using machine panic, or we can, if it's very bad panic, we can use Go panic, and then we know that the Gno code is not able to recover from it. So we have the choice, at least.
Yeah. Well, thank you for bringing it up.
You're welcome.
There was one more point on the agenda. I don't think we have time for it because we've gone over, and maybe it's worth actually tabling until next week. It is the performance dashboard. I think it's some of Petar's work, for Petar and Morgan. The continuous benchmarking.
Yeah, maybe you can make a small intro, Peter, but I suggest keeping also maybe a dedicated meeting for this. Or maybe you can make a meeting where we discuss deeply about stack management from Gno.VM and performance strategy for the whole project, including Gno.VM, Tendermint 2, tooling, etc. The two topics are very interesting, and many people can bring good ideas and good challenges. And yeah, I prefer to have more time. So next week, or when it makes sense, let's discuss performance and PID if possible. When I say PID, it's more frame management. It's a shortcut, but it's about how we want to support, expose, and suggest people to use the stack trace.
Oui, mon ami.
Sorry?
I said oui, mon ami.
Oui, mon ami. Yeah, sorry. For the ones who don't know Peter yet, he needs to make a joke during each meeting. So it's a requirement.
What's the joke? I don't get it.
Yeah, he just spoke in French this time, but this morning it was about XKCD, and the two last time it was about French stuff that is, good hepatite instead of good appetite, which means good disease. So.
Okay, maybe we can say that every public call, Petar has to come with a joke.
Yeah, let's do it.
And then you can decide whether we find it funny or not.
Yeah, Peter.
Huh?
Peter.
Yeah.
Yeah, Peter, could you create a realm to manage your jokes and add the voting systems? So we have a dashboard, and it's a good use case for you to have some code you manage and work on performance. So yeah, please write a realm. I will open pull request to add new features. And no, actually, no, but it's serious because we have one of the only languages where it makes sense to create social stuff with likes, and just make it, please, because it's funny, but it's useful. Yes, it's useful for Peter to have something to work on. It's useful to show that we are making contract not only for DeFi. So yeah, please do it.
Maybe we can get it in then to territory, and we can have the social and.
Yeah, a good example of how we can integrate.
I always thought that making fun in a structured way was a German thing, but it seems it's also a French thing.
Yeah. I think the stereotype is that Germans don't have a sense of humor.
No, well, I found that funny, so yeah.
That would be good. So I guess that's the for next time. Yeah. That's, I mean, we went through the agenda. I don't know if anyone has anything else. Otherwise, there's some topics, I guess, for your next internal call, and then we can reconvene in 2 weeks on the public one.
Only thing on my side is thank you for everyone, because I think we have a new record in terms of how many participants. So yeah, super happy about the evolution of this call.
Thank you all.
Oh, sorry. Last thing important. We have two new core team members. So Antonio joined us this week in the core team. He used to work on IPFS and writing Git server on Go and many other cool stuff in Go. And Zach, which is our first Tinker in residence that will try to bootstrap the ecosystem of small contracts, small libraries, small helpers, writing small apps, and helping us design something where sharing your work is better. It will just help us having more better experience for tinkerers, builders, and open source addicts. So yeah, two new great members. Oh yeah,
Welcome, guys.
they're very happy.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome.
Welcome.
Great. So then until next time,